Hey, what's going on? It's Dr. Delatorro. Listen, are you ready to grow your speaking business? Listen, I understand where you are. I understand the struggles with becoming more well-known in this industry, the competition, all the social media stuff that you see. It can be overwhelming sometimes. So listen, in this video, I want to share with you the one thing that I did that got my business to 7 figures. It's one thing, but it's in 3 parts. Does that make sense? So there's one thing that I did, but I did it in 3 parts. And so I want to share with you exactly what we did in order to help us get to 7 figures in our speaking business. And if you apply these results to your life and your business, you can have the same thing, okay? The first thing I had to do if I wanted to get my business to 7 figures was I had to get clear about the message. And one of the greatest struggles that I see so many speakers, authors, coaches, influencers, etc., I see so many people struggle in the area of getting clear about what their primary message is. That's one of the reasons why I created Crush the Stage. That's one of the reasons why I created our Monetize Your Message Challenge, to help people get clear about the message. If you want to sell $1 million worth of bread, what do you got to get really good at first? Not just sales. You got to get really good at what the bread recipe is. And so many of us are putting glaze on stale donuts because we don't take the time to get the message right. So the first thing that I want to encourage you to do if you really want to scale to 7 figures in this industry is really spend a lot of time really developing solid messages, solid content, whether your messages come in the form of keynotes or podcast episodes, training programs, a book, interviews, or however you get your message out there. You got to get crystal clear about what your message is. Does that make sense? In other words, every one of us is a sponge. When you wring out a sponge, the only thing that can come out of a sponge is what was already in there. So what's in you, my friend? We gotta get what's in you out of you in the format of your message, your unique message that the planet needs to hear. Does that make sense? So for me, my message is peak performance. My message is presentation skills. My message is personal development is one of the most important ways to develop yourself. Because listen, I'm a regular person who became a celebrity in the speaking industry because of what? One thing. I decided that I wanted to become the best at what I did. So that takes reading hundreds of books, going to hundreds of seminars and conferences, paying for all the best mentoring and coaching and training, and having people pour into me over decades of time. I've been doing this 20 years. So my friend, I've taken the time to get my message down. What is your message? And if you need help with that message, let us know. Reach out to our office. We'd love to help you through our Monetize Your Message program or through our Crush the Stage program. We'd love to help you develop your message, your core message. Is your message about diversity? Is your message about financial freedom? Is your core message about health and wellness? Is your core message about the power of voting? Does that make sense? You gotta get clear about what your core message is. Once you do that, you gotta take it to step 2. You have to understand this is where the rubber meets the road. You gotta get clear about how the industry values your message. You got to put a value on this message. Once you have the message, then you got to be able to put a value on it. So I remember when I hit my first 6 figures, because I hit 7 figures in my speaking business when I was still speaking in the college and university market. And the way it happened for me was I had to understand the value of my talks. My talks were keynotes. So the first thing I did to go find the value of my talks is I went to conferences where other keynote speakers were. And I flipped through the workbooks of these different conferences to find out the different speakers that were presenting, their bio, where they were from, what their credentials were, and how much they were charging for their presentations. Once I found out what they were charging for their presentations, I said, oh wow. So if I give a keynote to a university and I teach those students about keys to success in college, the value of that talk was back then, it was worth $3,000, okay? So if my message is how to crush college and graduate on time with no debt, majoring in what you love, if that's my message, I had to then say, what is the value of that message to colleges and universities? Well, the value of that message was $3,000. So now I gotta say, okay, cool. If I want to get $100,000, how many $3,000 keynotes do I have to do in a year, right, in order to hit my $100,000? Does that make sense? So you got to be able to do the math and say, okay, cool. If I got 100,000, right, divided by 3,000 gives us what? Basically what, y'all? Basically, you got to give roughly 33 talks. Does that make sense? 33 talks in a year times 3,000 is $99,000. So if I want to get my first 6-figure year in speaking at colleges, guess what? I have to give 33 talks. Now, 33 talks might sound like a lot, but when you divide 33 by 12, there's 12 months in the year. Now, basically, what do you have? Roughly 2 talks a month. So what I started doing was I set a goal to speak at 2 schools a month. If I speak at 2 schools a month, now all of a sudden, it's actually a little bit more. So it's closer to 3. But like, because 2 talks a month, It gives me 24 talks in a year times 3, doesn't give me 100,000. But this also doesn't include the books that you sell in the back of the room. It doesn't include all the repeat business that you get from it, students buying your books in bulk for classes and all that other kind of stuff. So 2 talks a month will get you there, but 3 talks in a month is better. So if you talk once a week and you have 1 week off, boom, you'll hit that 6 figures if you had a speaking fee of $3,000. But you got to get clear about the value of this message to the marketplace. Does that make sense? Then the third step that you have to take is you got to find the people who will pay for that message. Okay, so let's go back to the same college example. Back when I started speaking 20 years ago, I spoke at colleges and universities. So I had to get clear about what my message was to colleges and universities. And what my message was I was teaching students how to graduate on time with less debt, majoring in what you love, okay? That was kind of like my framework. I called it the rules of the game, right? So that was my message. Then I had to place a value on that message. I just taught you how to do that. But then the third step was I had to find the people. Who are the folks at colleges and universities that had the money to pay me my $3,000 or $5,000 to come and do this at their campuses? So I had to find the associations, okay? I had to find the professional associations that housed the membership, the people that would pay for me to use this message, right, in this way. Does that make sense? So you have to find the conferences, the associations, all the people that gather on a regular basis that look for people that have a great message. You're a speaker, you want to be a speaker, that means you're someone with a message. But someone with a message still has to connect to the people that have the power to pay for that message. But guess what? They're not going to pay you until you put a what? Value on that message. Does that make sense? And these are all things that I help my students do. And because I've been able to help so many of my students. Literally, when I think of one of my students, Betsy, I was able to help her put a value on her presentation, and she went from charging $1,000 a talk to $5,000 a talk to turning one of her talks, because she went through our Crush the Stage program, into a TED Talk. Then she started charging $10,000 for the same message. The message kept getting gooder and gooder, or better and better. Come on, somebody. But as the message got better and better, she charged more and more for it and kept finding the groups of the people who would pay her to do it. So my friend, if you wanna scale to 6 and 7 figures fast as a speaker, the key to it is one thing. It's your message. But you gotta do 3 things with that message. It's Dr. Delatorro. I'm out. Hope you enjoyed this video. Can't wait to see you in the next one so we can keep crushing the stage, baby. For real.
Hey, if you enjoy this video, listen, do me a favor, click the link below and pick up a copy of our brand new book, Platinum Presentations, 52 Tips to Speak with Confidence, Win Your Audience, and Grow Your Bank Account.